There are roughly 295,450 people in the world with a net worth of at least $30 million. Known as ultra-high net worth individuals, or UHNWs, they represent just 0.0037% of the global population, yet together they control roughly one-third of the world's wealth, an astonishing $35 trillion. So it should come as no surprise that there is an enormous global industry devoted entirely to catering to the nomadic lifestyles of these millionaires. Just like any other socioeconomic class, ultra-high net worth individuals tend to socialize with people who have similar levels of wealth. However, the interesting thing is that as your income rises, the number of people with similar levels of income and spending decreases. Therefore, once you reach the very top of the income ladder, the scarcity of people like yourself causes your social network to expand on a global scale. Over the years, this has led to the creation of an unofficial but remarkably well-organized billionaire social calendar. A typical year begins in Saint Barts, the traditional destination for the world's wealthiest people to celebrate New Year's Eve. February may include the Super Bowl, while March could involve ski trips to Aspen or St. Moritz. Spring begins with the Masters Golf Tournament in Augusta, Georgia, while May might bring the Cannes Film Festival and the Monaco Grand Prix, an event conveniently located nearby. June's highlight is the Henley Royal Regatta in England, July is Wimbledon, and August is the Venice Film Festival. September usually includes another trip to Monaco for the Monaco Yacht Show. October is the Frieze London Art Fair, and November might involve a trip down to the Southern Hemisphere for the Melbourne Cup. And finally, the last major event of the year before returning to St. Barts is, of course, Art Basel, Miami Beach. These events actually have very little to do with the events themselves. Most wealthy people attending the Monaco Grand Prix have little interest in racing, and the Monaco Yacht Show is not simply an event for buying boats. Instead, they serve as exclusive spaces where wealthy people can socialize with other wealthy people. While very few people attend every single event, and everyone adjusts their schedule according to their own interests, ultra-wealthy individuals often express a sense that they are obligated to participate in this social circuit in order to maintain their social standing. That pressure may have encouraged Jeff Bezos, for example, to begin 2022 the way he did, aboard a yacht off the coast of St. Barts with his partner Lauren Sanchez. Then on January 2nd, N271D took off on a 7-hour flight to Los Angeles to drop Sanchez off there, while N758PB flew in the following day to take Bezos directly home to Seattle. Over the next 2 weeks, both aircraft repeatedly flew back and forth along the west coast between Seattle and Burbank, presumably to transport Bezos and Sanchez to visit each other. However, on January 13th, one of the aircraft flew from Burbank to Maui, while the other flew from Seattle and made a brief stop at LAX before continuing on to Maui, presumably carrying Sanchez and Bezos respectively to the billionaire's newly purchased $78 million vacation home on the island. Both aircraft then returned to the mainland 4 days later. Bezos appears to have visited Sanchez again on the 23rd, before flying directly to Washington, D.C. 4 days later. But Bezos ultimately ended the month by flying back to Burbank once again. Throughout January, Bezos' lifestyle required his G650s to fly a total of 29,000 miles, equivalent to 46,000 kilometers. But Bezos' travel is a perfect example of the direction that market analysts believe the ultra-luxury travel industry is heading. You are witnessing two phenomena colliding head-on, creating major shifts throughout the industry. First, more people are becoming wealthier than ever before as money becomes increasingly concentrated among the very top of the wealth distribution. And second, people who are merely wealthy are traveling less frequently than they did in previous years, but they are spending more than ever. Data shows that before the COVID pandemic, the average American spent $4,871 on a trip to Greece. But today, that figure has risen to as much as $6,561. Airline executives are also pleased to see that revenue from first-class and business-class cabins remains particularly strong despite the prolonged weakness in business travel, which has traditionally been highly profitable. Much of this is because leisure travelers are increasingly choosing to pay extra for more luxurious travel experiences. In New York City, the ultra-luxury hotel market is reportedly booming, with record-high prices and occupancy rates, while new ultra-high-end hotels are opening faster than ever. The summer of 2022 saw the long-awaited opening of Amman, New York, with the cheapest room starting at $2,600 per night, although more typical prices often fall between $3,000 and $4,000 per night. 5 years earlier, Amman's sister resort, the Utah desert resort known as Amangiri, had starting prices of around $1,400 per night, but today, that price has doubled to $2,800 per night. And of course, for those lucky enough to secure a spot at resorts like Amangiri, they still need a way to get there. So it comes as no surprise that 2021 saw a record number of private jet flights, with 3.3 million flights worldwide. Much of this growth was driven by the on-demand charter model. Companies such as Wheels Up, NetJets, and XO have simplified the process of chartering a private jet on a trip-by-trip basis, making this form of transportation more accessible to wealthy people who only travel for leisure a few times a year. Essentially, the entire ultra-luxury travel segment is facing a capacity crisis. More and more people are willing to pay for a night at a top-tier hotel that costs more than an entire month's rent, or spend more on 2 hours of private jet travel than most people spend buying a car. As a result, the ultra-wealthy are pushing the extremely wealthy out of the places they once frequented. Today, there are almost no publicly accessible travel experiences that are expensive and exclusive enough to satisfy the world's wealthiest people, so they are turning to privately owned alternatives. Yachts are particularly well suited to this demand. They allow the ultra-wealthy to travel almost anywhere, bring along the level of accommodation they expect, and remain less dependent on external factors. However, the super yacht industry is also growing so rapidly that places that once served as refuges from crowds are now becoming overcrowded. Take the Yacht Club de Monaco, for example. During the summer, a night for smaller yachts costs around $275, but during the Monaco Grand Prix, prices can rise to more than $16,500 per night. For berths suitable for larger yachts measuring 60 to 70 meters, prices can reach $73,000 per night. However, money is not the only obstacle. The bigger issue is club membership. To become a member, you must be sponsored by an existing member and approved by the selection committee. Then, to secure a berth during the Mediterranean yachting season, you need to book months in advance. At the Monaco Yacht Show, securing a good berth is even more difficult. The best spots require the yacht to be large enough, and the owner or captain must have good relationships with event directors, relationships that can take years to build. Owning a super yacht in general is also extremely expensive and inconvenient. Despite this, yacht sales continue to rise, but the true pinnacle of this market lies in what we don't know about. More and more wealthy people travel to be seen, either in person or on social media. The ultra-wealthy, by contrast, travel to disappear from public view. We don't know exactly what the most expensive travel experiences actually look like because secrecy itself has become part of the premium price. And by the time we find out, the wealthiest class may have already moved on to something entirely new, while everyone else is still trying to stay one step ahead of those who are merely wealthy.